Postgame is presented by USAA. Joe Musso alongside Bryant, McFadden, and Emory Hunt. Gentlemen, on the road, one-score game. You get a mistake from the guy who doesn't make mistakes, and you give it right back plus points. That on top of the fumble around the goal line. How much of this one just falls in the lap of the quarterback for Pittsburgh?
Oh, you don't want to say the loss was solely all about Russell Wilson's miscues, but clearly those turnovers happened in the worst-case scenario in terms of the situation. The first fumble, they were in scoring opportunity, potentially going to put 7 points on the scoreboard. Worst-case scenario with Chris Boswell settling for 3 points. You get nothing. Then when you look at what happened for Russell in the fourth quarter, being able to get an opportunity to be back on the football field because of the Micah Fitzpatrick interception, took points off the scoreboard for Baltimore. Russ, because of that turnover, put points back on the scoreboard for the Baltimore Ravens. That right there was a defining moment because you're only down one score. You just came up with a huge interception on the defensive side. You're trying to find a way to work the clock, be able to get in scoring range to potentially tie this ball game. But because of that untimely throw, it led to a two-possession lead for the Baltimore Ravens, and they never looked back.
This game felt different, in my opinion. The defense turned the ball over twice, and we didn't normally see that from a Ravens team against Pittsburgh. Usually Pittsburgh is playing great football. They don't beat themselves. We saw the defense step up and turn the ball over twice. And on offense, they didn't panic. We saw the Ravens sort of have their way with the Steelers defense. Now, granted, we know they lost Joey Porter Jr., so that kind of changed the dynamics of who's back there on the back end. But I felt like the Ravens came into this ball game, ran the football like they wanted to, threw the football all over the yard. Lamar had all kind of time in the pocket, found guys running open deep down the field, and was throwing some accurate passes. So this game, to me, felt different. I felt like it was a total team effort and why they won tonight.
Felt different and was different. This is the largest margin of victory for Baltimore over Pittsburgh in a half-decade, 2019, the last time we saw a berth between them this large. And we sort of allude to what this means for the Ravens. Yes, they are a playoff team, but could they now be a division champion? Well, stay with me here. We could make it all the way down to strength of victory. The tiebreaker in division goes as such: head-to-head, division record, common opponents, conference record, strength of victory. Pittsburgh's road ahead, KC and Cincinnati. The Ravens' road ahead, Houston and Cleveland. Pittsburgh can take care of business on Christmas Day against Kansas City. Mac, I know you'll be in the building. They'll likely win this division by common opponent record. If not, it will likely be a Ravens win. We do have to play these football games, but how much does this division mean right now to have that seed on the right side and not be a part of that wild card picture, Mac?
It means a lot, and I think it means more for the Pittsburgh Steelers because they've had a hold on this division, it seems like, since the second half of the season. They've been sitting atop of the AFC North, winning the games they're supposed to win, and over a week ago, they had actually a two-game lead on the Baltimore Ravens when they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. So now you look at what happened a few weeks ago compared to where we sit currently right now. You have an opportunity, if you're not careful, you could squander this divisional lead. And I understand both teams have cemented themselves into the tournament. That's a plus. But the most important thing is to win your division, because when you do that, you do guarantee yourself at least one home playoff game, which is very, very important. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a very, very difficult moment in the schedule because we knew around this time having to play 3 games in a matter of 10, 11 days was going to be very, very tough. But because of what happened today, next week, Christmas Day against the Kansas City Chiefs is the defining game on their schedule, in my opinion, because if they win, they can kind of find a way to win this division. But if they happen to lose, it could be a tough scenario moving forward when you look at what Baltimore have going down the stretch compared to Pittsburgh.
I like what I saw from the Steelers today in a loss. I thought they ran the football probably better than they did under Russell Wilson. This is probably the best they've run it under Russell Wilson, where you had both of those backs having success. Then you saw Calvin Austin cement himself as the second best receiver on his football team. So he stepped up really well in this ball game, deep down the field, in contested catch situations. And defensively, we know they can still get pressure. We'll see how it works himself out in the secondary, how healthy Porter is, the severity of his injury. But I like what I saw from Pittsburgh, that you have to like some of their chances going into these matchups because we found out new things about what they're able to do.
Proper splits for that backfield in your opinion as well, Mac? You had 12 touches for Warren on the ground, 9 for Najee, another 5 through the air for Warren. Is this something that should skew A little bit closer to the dual threat speed back in Warren?
I think you got to understand, not having George Pickens in the lineup, Pittsburgh, they don't have any playmakers on the offensive side. I think the next best option in terms of being a playmaker would be Jaylen Warren. It's hard for him to showcase his playmaking ability when he's not on the football field.
Yeah.
I love the volume in terms of what he received today, not just running the football, but also catching the football as well. Remember at halftime, he was the leading receiver for their offense. So not having GPS in the lineup, George Pickens, it really hurts because you don't have any playmakers. When you look at Baltimore, their quarterback is a playmaker. You know, Derrick Henry is a playmaker. Zay Flowers can be a playmaker. They have a multitude of playmakers in terms of the options. That's the issue for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw the lack of playmakers surface for them against the Eagles.
It's also a
surface again today.
It's a Pittsburgh team that's been playing in front. Najee Harris, fantastic in those types of moments when you're controlling the clock, controlling possession, and leading the game script. If you are chasing, maybe Warren, as you said, gives you that big play ability that you don't have with George Pickens still not being available. We'll see if that timeline gets crunched any bit more with what the situation currently is now, both in division and for seeding. When you look at Lamar Jackson, it's just a joy to watch. He's playing with such a calm that has really underlined his entire career. But you said this feels different for the Baltimore defense. Does it feel different a little bit with Lamar right now? It's not necessarily chasing down Josh Allen for an MVP trophy. He's chasing something else right now. Does it look like that to you on tape?
He has complete control of the passing game, man. If we're talking about Madden football video game, remember how you used to have the vision cone? His vision cone is now going from the 53 and a third width-wise, right? Because he sees the whole field, and he's very calm in the pocket. You see his patient feet in the pocket, finding guys deep down the field. The touch time and accuracy, anticipation is all there. All of this, quite honestly, is what we saw on film at Louisville, but he's become more refined in doing so, and he's confident throwing the football. This is a very tough team to throw the football against consistently because of those guys coming off the edge, but Lamar felt as though, hey, I trust my offensive tackles. I'm going to step up in the pocket. And he saw the whole field, and everyone felt like they were open. He hit him and tried to pass down the sideline to Zay Flowers. Was probably the best throw of the season, one of many best throws of the season. But today, that was an outstanding throw.
Mac, to Emory's point, this is a riddle that Lamar has had a hard time solving. I believe just his second win against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career. What was different today?
He was just so cool and calm in the pocket. I don't know if there's another quarterback in the National Football League that we currently watch that has improved from throwing within the pocket like Lamar Jackson has. Those highlights that you just watched all came from within the pocket. How comfortable he is. He understands where his pass catcher is going, and he knows exactly where to put the football. And yes, he had an interception, but I think that was more so on the wide receiver than Lamar Jackson, because Lamar was anticipating Bateman continue to run his crossing route. Bateman stopped. But outside of that, quietly, Lamar threw 3 touchdowns. Super efficient. He didn't have to be at his best, but in terms of situational opportunities, when he got close to that red area, he was cashing in big time. And like I said, when you can quietly have a 3-touchdown game against a great defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know good and well you are him.
Well, listen, we're going to start the narrative here and set this agenda. This is the first interception Lamar Jackson has thrown all season long, because the other 3 all came off the receiver's hands, and they fell in the other team's hands. So shout out to Lamar Jackson having 1 INT and what to be his 3rd.
Wow, a stat correction from Emory.
And real quick, can we finally applaud the offensive coaching staff for the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah.
Because in big moments, a la regular season activity or postseason opportunities, what do? They get away from the running game. This is why you went out and signed the King. For late December football, when it's cold outside and you got that 6'3", 250-plus back coming downhill. Remember the first meeting against the Pittsburgh Steelers, in totality, he only had 13 rushing attempts. Remember, he had 13 rushing attempts at half of this ball game. He finished with 24 for 162. Run the football, Baltimore. Run the football. Because we've all complained about what they do or do not do in big moments. It seemed like in big moments they kind of get away from the game plan. Running the football has gotten to this point. It was a bright thing to see them stick with the running game. Unfortunately, it came against my Pittsburgh Steelers, but in an unbiased way, that should be the mindset offensively for them moving forward.
A performance fit for a throne, and on this day, a throne made of steel. Sorry, Mac.
Yeah, well played.
Ravens take down the Steelers here in a big win that throws this division into the mixer. How about this? Speaking of throws, 35-plus passing touchdowns and 5 or fewer interceptions. Emory says he has 1. Well, the stat sheet does say he has 4 this season. 3, yes, have touched his receiver's hands. And this one on this day, Rashad Bateman cutting off a route. Does it mean you'll win an MVP? Historically, yes, but the markets still represent Josh Allen as your favorite. Lamar on pace to go 4,000 plus, 900 plus, and more than 40 total touchdowns.